Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing something called factoring polynomials. We're doing a specific type where all of the things you're going to be factoring will have something called a leading coefficient of 1. If you can remember, the word coefficient means like the number that's being multiplied by a variable. So in this case, 11x means the coefficient, that word. The 11x means the coefficient is 11. Here, like negative 5b means negative 5 is the coefficient. B is the variable. Negative 5 is the coefficient. And what we mean by a leading coefficient of 1 is just that you can see there's no number in front of the x squared. So the coefficient that's in the front is just a 1. That's like 1x squared. It's like 1b squared, etc. So what we're going to be doing something called factoring. Factoring is when we take a polynomial, in this case, a quadratic polynomial. It's a trinomial as well. And we're going to break it down into factors. A factor is a binomial that would multiply together to get this polynomial. So the end result of this, we're going to get two binomials in parentheses that would multiply together to get that original thing. Kind of the opposite of what you guys were doing last week. So instead of multiplying two things together to get the original, we're going to take some polynomial and we're going to break it down. So this is how we're going to do that. We're going to think about this as, x plus some number and another x plus some number. In this case, I know, so I'm going to keep them x and x. I know that these are both going to just be normal x's because this term up here, x times x is x squared. So we really just need to figure out what those two numbers are. Now, there's one really, it's kind of weird, but a pretty easy way to do this. So what we're going to do, I'm going to set up a table, and we're going to use this term at the end, that 24. We're going to write that one on top. Now, we're going to try to find the factors or the numbers that multiply together to get 24 that would add up to get 11. So let's think about the factors of 24. For instance, like 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. So those are all of the factors of 24. Those are all the ways you can break down the number 24. Now we need to figure out which pair of these numbers would add up to that middle number. Now in this case, it's the 3 and the 8. So 3 plus 8 is 11, and 3 times 8 is 24. So that pair of numbers is what we want to use for our polynomial. So we're going to put those numbers in here. X plus 3 and x plus 8. Now, if we do this out, we're going to try to see, does this actually work when we multiply? Just to check. So we'll go through. We have x times x. That would be x squared. That's good. We get that term. X times 8 is next. So plus 8x. That's good. Now we do the 3. 3 times x is 3x. And finally, 3 times 8 is 24. We're not done with this yet, so we're going to rewrite that as, we're going to combine the like terms in the middle. So x squared plus 11x plus 24. So we have multiplied this. This isn't work that you have to do. All the stuff in red isn't work you have to do normally. So we're just trying to check, does this actually work out? And so when you multiply these together, you do see how we get that original polynomial back. So you can see how that is equal to, or this is equal to that. So that means that our final answer is, we're going to copy this down, x plus 3 times x plus 8. So that's how that works. And that is going to be our final answer right there. So that's about it. So let's try out a different example. We're going to look at this one. We want to figure out, so we're going to figure this out as that is equal to, put things in parentheses. So this, we're going to have, remember we have the x's in the front. We're going to have two numbers that go, like one number that goes right here, one number that goes right here. So we want to figure out, we take this number, we take the last number right there, and we're going to put that on top of a table. So that's negative 14. That's going to make things a little bit different because that number is negative, but that's okay. It'll still work out. So how do we get negative 14? Well, we can get that as negative 1 times 14. Put a 1 there. 1 times negative 14. So these kind of both work out. One of them is negative, one of them is positive, but they both work out basically the same way. So next we can do 2 times, or negative 2 times 7. And we can do positive 2 times negative 7. And those are all the ways that you can get negative 14. Just moving the negative around, that'll work. So all of these things will multiply together to get that number. Now we need to think about which two numbers will add up to get negative 5. So negative 1 plus 14, that's 13. 1 minus 14, that's negative 13. Negative 2 plus 7 is positive 5. It's close, but this is negative. So that means this final thing, 2 and negative 7, that's going to be our answer, because 2 minus 7 is negative 5. So in this, we'll do x plus 2. That's a positive 2, so we do plus, and x minus 7, because that's negative 7. So that's going to be our answer for that. And that'll work out, because again, x times x is, I did that wrong. X times x is x squared. X times negative 7 is negative 7x, and 2 times x is positive 2x, so that would add to negative 5. And 2 times negative 7 is 14. I actually made a mistake with this one. I didn't realize that. And some of you may have noticed that earlier. The mistake that I made, I'm going to cross that out and rewrite this correctly, is that I'm using the wrong variable here. You may notice that I used x and not b. So our answer actually should have been b plus 2 and b minus 7. So you can see how in this example, I can't believe I made a mistake. You can see how in this example, I actually just have to use the same variable that I'm going to use in the original equation. So that'll make a lot more sense that way. All right, on to the last example. All right, so in this example, we're going to use y's, so I'll make sure that I do this correct this time. We're going to have y and y, and we again have to set up our table so that we have to get to 36 to multiply together, and remember we have to add up to get negative 13. So in this example, we are going to do what are things that multiply together to get 36? So like 1 times 36, that always works. 2 times 18. 3 times 12. Let's see. 4 times 9. So we have a bunch of factors. So do any of these add up to negative 13? Well, none of them add up to negative 13 just yet. But we may notice if you added up those two together, that would be positive 13, which is not what we want. We want negative 13. But if we change that, so that is a negative 4 and negative 9, that's going to work, because negative times negative, a negative number times a negative number, that's going to be a positive 36, so that works. And negative 4 plus negative 9 is negative 13, so that's going to work out when we add those. So if I put a negative 4 here and a negative 9 here, that's going to be our answer, because those two multiply together to get that, and they add together to get that number. And that's about it. It'll be a little bit more complicated later, and I'll show you some other ways how to solve these. But for now, that is how we're going to be doing that, just finding those with with a leading coefficient of 1. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.